Going live. Hi, guys. Welcome to Chemo Glow, where the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow. Guess what? I'm doing something new tonight. This is one of my pre recorded podcasts, but my guest tonight said, hey, let's do it. So we're going to do it. We're going live tonight. I have no idea if anybody's going to listen. I have no idea if my girl's going to run in. He has no idea if his wife or the dogs might come in the room, but we're just going to go live. So this is normally my pre-recorded podcast that you guys hear on the weekends, but I decided to do it live so you can see what we do here. But right now, I'm going to have my guest introduce himself. Thank you again for letting me go live. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Troy Palmer. My wife and I, we've been married for 25-ish years, I think. I should know that, huh? 25 years. I spent 15 years as a manager with Marriott Hotels. And once we opened up bakeries, I decided to leave the hotels and go full time at the bakery with my wife. And that worked out for about 4 months because I think I was probably eating up more of the profits. And I would find myself going out to play golf, calling out. That didn't work out too well. She fired me. And, it was like, so now I'm a independent auto dealer broker, and gives me freedom to do a lot of things and spend more time with the family and stuff like that, and just loving life.
Just loving life.
It's me in a nutshell. We've as the podcast, the reason why the podcast was created. My wife is a cancer survivor.
Yes.
And she kicked cancer's butt. She kicked cancer's butt. So
yes, I think I have a couple of pictures of your wife. Now, you say your wife likes to bake cakes, or she had a bakery. She did more than that because I heard about her when I used to live in Charlotte. And she is serious about her cake baking, and I can't wait to have her on to talk about some of the things that she likes to do. But I'm doing it a little different because in February you were one of the guys that were supposed to come on, and we weren't able to get you settled and get you in, and so I wanted to make sure that I still was able to hear your story. I have one other person that I'm looking forward to talking to, but I wanted to make sure that you were in on this because caregivers are not thought about. I'm here to tell you, my husband was a caregiver, and I just said that, we don't think about the people who take care of us, and it's important that we do. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on was to talk about that and to tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, I did meet your wife briefly on Jeanette's show, but I was like, I'm not doing a podcast with her until I do one with you. Jeanette said you were a special person, and I can't wait to hear about it. All right, so tell me, you've been married for 25 years. Your
Correct.
wife kicked cancer's butt. How many years ago was that?
I think she's 8 years in. 8-year survivor, I believe.
Eight years in. All right. So 8 years in. Can you tell me what you guys were doing around that time before you heard those words?
Oh man. You know what? Lisa cannot sit still. I mean, she would after being up sometimes 36 hours in a day, she would come home and go and teach an aerobics class or go teach a cycling class. Come home. Our little routine was whenever you have a long stretch like that, we go get Jamaican food.
Okay.
Go eat Jamaican, and but she's just an energizer bunny, so she would do that. Now there would be days when she would crash. She would come and sleep, and it's like Sleeping Beauty. Have to go in there and try to kiss her to wake her up or whatever. But before that, I mean, we did a lot. We don't have kids, so we had a lot of freedoms. We just we traveled quite a bit. Of course, the bakery was a big part of our lives.
Yes.
And That's all prior to her feeling the little BB on her chest.
Okay.
And,
So prior to, you said her feelings. So she did a self breast.
that's correct. Yep. She
Okay.
one evening, one night, she said she felt a little BB,
Mm-hmm.
and never got in an uproar or anything about it. So went and got it checked out, and it came back as it was cancerous. It was cancer. Um, so we went to the doctors. She was way better with it than I was,
Okay.
because she said, okay, well, one in however many people, I don't know the statistics like she does, but
Yes.
one in X amount of people get cancer. And her little tagline was, well, tag, I'm it.
Tag, I'm it.
So she just had that approach through the whole thing. Said, okay, well, this is something that we've got to deal with. Um, they diagnosed it. Stage was 0 to 1
Okay.
for starters. So she's a big holistic person. So still having the bakery. Now this is how I'm seeing it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's, I want to see how you're seeing it. You still have the bakery. She goes, she finds out, you hear those words, she takes it better than you.
Right.
And tell me exactly how you see it.
With cancer, to me, that word was just always death.
Mm.
Growing up, the everybody that I knew that had cancer expired.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there, and I'll be taking a drive by myself, and I'll be talking to God and saying, why is this happening to us? We have, we've housed. I think we've had a total of maybe 53 people stay with us.
Oh wow!
Over the life since we've been married.
Mm-hmm.
So we house people, we get people jobs. We've given away 25 cars. Just we try to be good people. Why is this happening to us?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm questioning God as I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I get back home, and she's fine, and I'm just trying to hold it all in, and this, that, and the other. So she decides that I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna beat this holistically.
Okay.
Juice.
And what was your thoughts on that? Hearing what the doctor said, okay, this is the possible treatments, this is where you're at, and your wife says, guess what? I'm gonna do this holistically. Like, I am not gonna take the normal route once that diagnosis is out there, and now you have the treatment plan. So tell me how that made you feel first.
I was a little apprehensive.
Okay.
They said, the lumpectomy.
Mm-hmm.
They said they could have just taken that portion out, and it had been a little bit of disfiguring of the breast, but nothing major. She was big on the holistic part. So I was like, this is her journey. I need to support her. I said, okay, so let's do it. Mm-hmm. So she's juicing, she's eating raw and doing everything that the books say you're supposed to do to help your body fight cancer, except for one. We're in the bakery. So she's still in the bakery. When you're baking cakes and you're making icing, you have to taste your product, which is sugar. And we all know that cancer loves sugar.
Oh, sugar is like Pac-Man going after it.
Right. And so, I think that was the kryptonite in the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Being holistic, it's either 100, like there's old song says 99.5 won't do. You have to be 100% committed. So, even knocking out the sugar, which she just couldn't do and have the bakery. So fast forwarding, the lump started to get bigger and things of that nature. So she was doing some reading and looking, and one lady said, yeah, mine got bigger before it started going down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that, honey. But so, time progressing, man, she opened up one book and saw where the tumor was actually protruding.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, and it was getting black and blue and just hard.
Okay. So your wife's breast was getting black and blue and just hard. So she decided not to do the treatment and not to have the surgery, to go all the way holistic. And like we said, cancer loves some sugar, and it also progresses if you don't do something about it. Right. But it's also a choice, right? It's a choice. She advocated for her care and what she wanted to be. And it's interesting to hear the husband's side of the story about you grew up and all you knew that cancer was death. So you wanted to make sure
Right.
that your wife was taken care of. So now her breast is turning into what she sees in the book, and you're seeing it as well.
Right.
How long of a time was it?
I want to say it was probably maybe 6 months.
Okay.
So in 6 months' time, it went from a stage 0.5 or to stage 3B.
3B. And a lot of people don't understand it's not just stage 1 through 4, it's
Right.
1A,
Right.
1B, 2A, 2B. So she was now a
Yeah, stage 2 was 3B. And
okay.
so we said, okay, this isn't working. We've got to go talk about surgery options
Okay.
and everything like that. And she was, she was like, okay, so we'll do it. Go to the doctor, and they're like, yeah, we've got to do it. You're going to have this, cut out. And they're going through the whole plan, the
Mm-hmm.
chemo and, radiation. You may need to do radiation and this, that, and the other. And she, through the whole thing, is like, okay, yeah, if that's what we got to do, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. I tried it my way, didn't work. Let's try it your way. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it. I gotta go get a cup of coffee. So going over the corner, man, and just oh my goodness, because you just see so much and see what people go through with chemotherapy, and it's just gosh, she always had long locks and stuff like that, and lose your hair and stuff like that, and I'm just like, man, why is this happening to me? Happening to me, and if I'm keeping it 100,
yes,
there
you
were
said
times,
nothing was off limits. So
yeah, and there were times, and I said, you know what, I just can't deal with it. I said, you know what, I'm a tap out, call a mom and say, look, this is more than what I can handle. But I can't be supportive for her. I can't be what she needs going through this. And I'm thinking of stuff. And then of course that's my I guess my flesh or just my head talking. But then the inner part of me says, okay, no, you're a man. You said for better, for worse. And so are you going to be a man of your word, or are you just going to take off and run like a whole lot of other people would? And my mom told me, she said, you know what? I raised you boys to be fighters, not quitters. She said, even when you were on the playground and you would get into a fight and you felt like somebody got the best of you, she said, I will send you back. And so I'll say, you know what? It's not fair for her to go through this battle alone. So I'm in it to the end. So, we start going through the chemo.
Okay, wait, before you go there, because I don't want to jump over that or take that lightly, because that's something so important that we need to talk about is the caregiver when it is too much for them, right? And they're looked upon as, but you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be for better and for worse. Yes, that sounds good. Yes, I meant that when I said the words, but now we're talking about life and death. And then was there any point when you went from the holistic side to saying, okay, now we're going to do something? Were you ever mad? Were you ever upset about any decisions or anything you guys disagreed on?
Yeah. I was absolutely furious I was absolutely furious that we didn't just do the lumpectomy. When they talked about it, I said, well, maybe you should go ahead and do it and be done with it. And she was like, no. And I was this whole journey, like I said, I was so uncertain of, what the outcome's going to be. And I didn't want to put any more, stress on her. So I didn't think it would be wise for me to get into a debate with her about what she should do with her body.
Yeah.
So that's why when she made that decision, I said, okay, well, I'll jump on board and I'll support it. But then, of course, when now you have to go through the surgery and stuff like that, I want to say, see, if you would have only done this, then we wouldn't be going through this right now. Having to go through all that. But you wanted to go holistic. And I think I did tell her one time. I think I did. I told her you wanted to go holistic. and you can't do it because you love sugar and you had to keep tasting sugar in a bakery. You got to go. We should have had the lumpectomy. Well, and so, and that kind of got into a little bit of back and forth, but of course, it just, we ended, and now we're at that stage where she's got to go through the big stuff. So it's no need, looking back to what we wish we would have done.
Would have, could have.
Yeah, got to start looking forward to what you need to do. So.
Okay. So now that we're at the point, and I'm so happy that you are acknowledging these feelings, because everybody's like, yeah, my husband was a rock, or my wife was a rock, or my partner was a rock. And I know at many points during the process, men especially, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, want to fix things. So I want to get it fixed and 100%. Get it done.
100%.
So here we are, I'm not able to fix it, but I also have to support you in the way you want to control it.
Right.
Right. So now that we're at this point and we're talking and you're having this conversation, and now it's time for the surgery, and understand that she went from 0-1 to now we're at 3B.
Yep.
And now we have different options that we have to do. So tell me about how you felt on the day of the surgery.
You know what? I felt pretty comfortable because, they were giving us statistics and, things of that nature that, how it's survivable and, after surgery, the chemo, that was my hardest thing, was thinking about chemo. But the surgery part, I felt pretty comfortable about it. Like I said, I'm an open book, and a lot of people didn't talk about this because some of the stuff is kind of private. But just kind of backing up a little bit, you said that the women said their man was a rock because we want to show them the rock.
Yes.
But if we're all being honest, because I would say that I was a rock. But I'm saying, man, whenever I could get my time to myself or whatever, man, you have to let it go.
Yeah.
You have to let it go, because if you don't let it go, then next thing you know, you're going to be gone. You know what I mean? You'll just take off. But anyway,
No, don't go past that, because I want to know what support you received during that time. Did you have any books? Did you have any support groups? Did anybody say, hey man, I went through this too, let me support you in it?
You know what? No.
Wow.
And not any fault of any of my friends or family, but they've always seen me as a fixer, and that I've always been the one I'm the go-to guy. If you need something, call Troy. Anything going on, you need somebody, you need help, call Troy. Troy got it. Troy this, Troy that. My wife would tell you to this day. I mean, I just ran up the road and helped my uncle with the vehicle 3 hours away. Just she's like, I was always the go-to guy, but now I needed somebody to go to,
and nobody was there.
Just pride, or if it was just me not really wanting to reach out. Now, I have a cousin, my cousin Fred, and we grew up like brothers. Now he was real good, and a lot of my friends that I would maybe just talk to about a little bit, they would, well, just hang in there, brother. We're praying for you, and just be strong, and this, that, and the other, because they haven't gone through it. I didn't have anybody I could talk to that had gone through it.
Yeah.
So and that's important. So I think that's one important part of this podcast. And I mean, if there's any brothers out there, whenever you start talking to them, whatever, man, they just need somebody to talk to. Please. I'll tell them I tell them the things to get ready for, what to expect, from what I've experienced.
And that's so important, because that's why I did February, the love month that everybody talks about. I wanted all men. I wanted to celebrate the men. I wanted to celebrate the caregivers that has taken care of their wives. And then I had one individual who was up there, and he was going through cancer. So to see it from his wife's eyes was important to me, because I want to know about the caregivers, because we're not supporting them like we should. Or maybe they don't know that support out there, or maybe they just want to be the rock and not have anything, or not know how to ask for it.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
We don't ask for directions.
Yeah.
We
If you're not going to ask for directions, you surely not going to ask for help during chemo. Oh man. Well, that's so true. You're giving me like tag your it. I think that might be this podcast name. If you're not asking for directions, I love that you're being so honest about things that people don't talk about.
Right.
They don't talk about. I've heard the stories, but they don't want to talk about it. And that's why Jeanette connected me with you and said, hey, you'll really love his story because he's very honest about what he went through. Now that you are set, ready, surgery is happening. Surgery has now happened. What was next for the treatment plan?
So they gave her the chemo schedule. Well, her surgeries were. She had a rough bout at it. She had a tough time. She had fluid on her heart, so she had to get some surgery to get the fluid removed off her heart. I mean, the cancer really came to try to personify the fear that I had of it. It came to take my wife out. So, and the doctors even said that if she hadn't been in the shape that she was in, I mean, that would probably be a different story.
Wow.
So, I thank God for her, being in the shape she's in. And
your wife she's a beast. She is a triathlon. When I first met her, she had like several medals around her neck. I was like, okay, I got a necklace on.
Yeah, and it's so funny because she understands even I think the triathlon piece kind of just plays into my mind with the whole cancer too, because she wasn't the first one through the lines. She wasn't the first one finishing the swim, or the first one on the biking, or the first one in the run, but she finished, and that's the whole thing behind it. Even with this, people go through different journeys with their cancer, but you got to keep fighting. A guy told me one time, he said, you know what you do when you find yourself walking through hell? He said, you keep walking. You just can't stop and give up.
You gotta finish the race.
Gotta finish it. So, after the surgery, comes the chemo. Now, nobody can tell this story better than Jeanette. boy, because the first day of chemo, I walked in there with Lisa and Jeanette, and they started bringing that stuff up. Man, I looked around. I said, Jeanette, you got this, right? Yeah, I got to go to the bakery and make sure the cakes are good. And they said, Jeanette, tell you couldn't see nothing but my coattails flying in the wind.
Really?
Off and ran like a scared child.
Because walking in, for me, walking in when you're sitting there and you're in that chair, and then you hear the beep, 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 and there's a certain smell in the hospital, and there's a different smell in the chemo room. Like it's and so walking in there isn't, I don't know if you did a tour, but like I got a tour of where I was going to be having, the poison in me, but it saved me. I'm here. Right. So walking in there, you have Jeanette Gregory, who is with Celebrate Life 08. She's supporting your wife. She's sitting there, her first day of chemo. Here you go. And you see your wife, and the first thing you do is, I'm going to go. I'm out, right?
I was out.
What was that for you to walk in and see that, and knowing that, we've already, because you had surgery first, right?
Right.
All right. Yep. So you had the surgery first. This is the second part of it. Yep. What was that like, walking in there and seeing your wife like that?
Man, that was scary. That was scary, because I know what chemo does to you, what it does to the body. And the seeing the people that were in there that just looked like they just couldn't hold on. They were just giving up on life. That's the way it looked. A lot of the people in there, they're in there in the their pajamas or just loose gear, and just they look like they've come in there to die.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that Lisa, Jeanette, and we all agreed on, is that when we go in there, you're going in there sharp, going in there looking good. And I've always been a jovial person. I like to laugh and joke and have a good time. And I told him, I said, listen, we're going to be who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to, we're not going to succumb to the environment around us. We're going to affect the environment.
Mm.
So, our next treatment, I manned up. So I sat in there and through the, so we're just laughing and kind of joking around and, just saying things and just kind of, she's trying to laugh while she's, coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
My brother-in-law was there and he's doing like magic tricks. And these, this one lady, I remember her whispering, saying, they're over there laughing about this. And some of us are in here dying.
Mm.
And I told Cletus, that's his name. I said, wow, she just said that, you know, we're in here laughing and some people are dying. He said, well, it's a choice. He said, we choose to live. And then Jeanette, the next, maybe a couple of days after that, just echoed the same thing. We choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go in there. We're going to be happy. We're going to be laughing and smiling. We're going to be joking and just having a good time, not disturbing people, of course, not being real loud and boisterous,
Uh-huh.
but, having the conversations like we would normally have. And there was a lady and her husband that were sitting maybe two stations down. And I was telling a joke about, oh goodness, I was telling a joke to Lisa about something, and she was just laughing. And so I looked at the lady, and she kind of raised up, and she kind of laid back a little bit. And a few minutes later, her husband came walking up and
Mm-hmm.
said, "What was that joke that you just told?" And man, I can't believe that joke has left me just like that. I went over there and told her the joke,
Uh-huh.
and she kind of got a little chuckle. This was her sixth time, her
Oh.
sixth bout with chemo. Um, so we had chemo on Wednesdays. The next Wednesday, we noticed they had moved a little closer,
Mm.
and then a little closer to where we were side by side. There's David and Jen, David and Maria. I think her name was Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of developed a little relationship, and I would just do stuff, and I talked about, Lisa always wanting a bald head, so
Mm-hmm.
just go to the extremes, like I told you, and so she's laughing and smiling, and her husband gets up and walks over to the coffee area, and it's kind of emotional, but I got up and walked over there to get some coffee also,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked down, and he is just crying. And he looks up at me and he just boom, just hugs me. Now this is an older white guy, probably in his 70s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he hugged me and was just crying. And I was like, when he said, I have not seen my wife laugh in over a year. So that just, it just, just does something, man. And I can just see him being that rock. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That rock that she needs to see and everything. But he goes behind that wall, goes behind a curtain of Oz, and he can just break down. Of course, he gets himself back together and goes back over there. So that they became, our little buddies during the chemo.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some conversation there. She I think we finished before she did.
Okay.
We finished before she did. And we had gotten to the house, and on my birthday, it was January 17th, I called him just to check, and picked up the phone. He picked up the phone, and I could hear noise in the background. And I was like, "Well, how's Maria?" He said, "Well, she passed. She left us." And I was like, "I'm so sorry to hear it." He said, "No." He said, "Don't be sorry, because all she did was talked about how crazy you and your wife and your family, and she would come in here and with coming here with chemo brain,
Mm-hmm.
trying to tell jokes, which makes it even funnier." So, I mean, it was sad that she, passed on, but it was good that they got to see his old wife or their old mother and stuff like that. How
Mm-hmm.
she used to be jovial and stuff like that. So
You never know
You just
who you're going to touch,
never
how
know.
you're going to be impacting people. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, to see this man come over and hug you, and you have no idea. And then you have a different reaction from someone else that says, you're over there laughing, but we're dying.
Right.
It's our perception
Yeah.
and where that person is at that time. And you decided that, hey, this is what my wife needs. So
Right.
this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you help somebody else.
Yeah.
That first time running out, you were back in. Like you were like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
here.
Take me out, coach. Take me out.
Now, did Jeanette ever give you that book of hers that she had with the men telling their side of the story? Love Me So I Can Live? Did you ever get a chance to read that book?
I didn't.
Okay.
No. Man,
Okay.
that.
So that was a good one. It was from the caregiver's perspective. And so I am so glad that you stayed.
Yeah.
And for our guests, this is my guest Troy. Like he did not know that we were going to do this podcast live, but apparently some people are listening. So Talanya says you never know who you are helping, right? You have no idea who you are helping. And Vanessa simply says, wow, that is very impactful. I love this. What a wonderful gift you gave the family in her last days. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So knowing that all of this was happening to your wife, now that you have surgery, now you have chemo, how did the chemo affect your wife?
Well, I guess they call it, I've heard it called chemo brain.
Oh, that chemo brain is real. So
listen,
let me just
no, yeah. Anybody that thinks it's not real, when you wake up in the morning and you're trying to cook grits on the ironing board. Yeah. So she
yeah.
So I said, Lisa, what are you doing? She said, I'm cooking grits. And I was like, okay. But the she was different, just lost a lot of weight, and lost the hair, of course. She tries to say the story isn't true.
I think I heard this story. Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I woke up one morning and looked and jumped. I was like, oh Lord, there's a snake in the bed. But no, it's one of her locks had come out and it was laying on the bed. And I was like, oh. I was like, okay, well, maybe you want to have a lock cutting party. Like, no, it didn't come out of the bed. I'm gonna cut them off. But yeah, that was funny.
But she can look. She can wear that hair with the fur coat.
Man, she wore that bald head. I'm telling you.
Man, she not? Did she not wear that? Yeah. She was not playing at all.
That's what I tell her. I say, you rock that stubble. That's what I go back. She rocked that stubble. But yeah, and we we are very fortunate. There's Lisa has a couple. She's got the people that she's met they really stepped up to help. I know probably Sherry and Joe Lewis.
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're pastors. They just showed up one day at the house and said, "Okay, y'all sit back. We're going to clean the house." And when I tell you, they went top to bottom, just cleaning the house, just something simple like that. Her friend Doreen, when Lisa got done, she came and said, okay, well, I'm taking a taxi. I'm getting a ride over to your house. I hope you have an extra room for me. Doreen stayed here. And not only for, for Lisa, but even for me, because, Lisa didn't feel like doing anything. I tell you, this lady set up camp. She stayed in the house as if she was just a live-in chef. She cooked our meals for us, cleaned the dishes. Whenever I would have to go to work, she would be here with Lisa. Lisa didn't feel like driving nowhere and stuff like that. She didn't drive, so she just became a godsend,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just such a huge relief because I would be at work and I'll be wondering, what's going on with Lisa? What if something happens, or this, that, and the other? Just all those things because we're fixers.
Yes, your
we want to make sure
fixers.
we want to make sure everything is right. So that was a huge weight off the shoulders, and I had to give. I'm not a big needle person. I don't like needles,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to give her shot in her belly, every day.
Yeah, I've been
So
there.
yeah, that was so that was having to overcome that little thing. But the biggest thing that once she got home, um, or whenever she would be home, this was when she was still going through chemo, was the neuropathy, her itching. And she is just, you can see it going through, and it's nothing that you can do. I mean, it's nothing I was like trying to scratch her feet or just her hands
Mhm.
or whatever. And man, that has got to be when you love and care for somebody so much and they're going through something and your hands are tied, man, that's
It's
torture.
it's
It,
hard. It's hard. It's
it is.
devastating to you because you can't
Yeah,
fix it, and you know your wife is going through pain, and you might not understand it, and your wife is like for me. I can only talk. You know, talk for me. The neuropathy, the nerve damage, not being able to zip up my pants or even do simple things. And
right.
I remember my husband saying it's the quality of life. We have to figure out this happy medium in the middle for this quality of life, and you people want to fix it and you just can't, so you're bearing it now, like you're
Yeah.
like, now I have to go through it with you. And like you said at the beginning, it was quite
Yes.
hard to do this. So now that you've gone through the surgery, the chemo, did you have to do radiation?
No radiation.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah. So kind of dodged the bullet on that, so to say. But no radiation. They talked about it for, you know, briefly, but I guess the doctors were satisfied with how things were going, and they said, yeah, no radiation. So did not have to go through the radiation.
So where are you at now? Because you're almost 8 years out. How is your wife doing?
Oh man, fantastic. She's fantastic. Just never misses a beat. Never misses a beat. She's still um, running, and
Doing triathlons.
yeah, she hasn't done a triathlon yet, but she was talking about it the other day. We were in the garage, and she said, "Yeah, I need to get my bike off the wall because it's time for me to start, getting on that thing again." And it's I she doesn't. I don't think she realizes it, but when I just see her move around,
Hmm.
sometimes I sit back in awe because
Wow.
I you know on the outside looking in and seeing what she went through and
Hmm.
how this cancer really came for her.
Yeah.
It's it's amazing. And I can never tell her enough, how much, how much I love her and how strong she is. But
Hmm.
she's a tough cookie. I mean, look, as with you, you know what I mean? I just
Hmm.
look at strong women that go through these things, and it's amazing.
It is. It is. And the fact that you have been so honest about how it made you feel, how it made you feel, how you're feeling now, how you're in awe of your wife, and some days where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that people who are listening will understand that it's fair to think these
Yeah.
things, but what are we going to do? How can we support you? How can you ask for support? Now, are you helping anyone? Has anyone ever approached you and said, "Hey, my wife's going through. Can we talk about it?"
Yeah, Michael Brent.
Oh,
Michael Brent, my aunt, she was diagnosed with cancer Hers was very aggressive.
Mhm.
So we lost her. But going through the chemo and everything, he was asking me, so tell me what the chemo is like, and I told him everything from, how you're going to feel powerless to where you can't help her and things of that nature, but how you just have to constantly be that rock and smiling and, holding her hand and saying, we're going through this together, all the way up to the point of, I mean, yeah, why not? Like I said, I'm keeping,
Yeah.
or
Please,
I just,
please. Look,
I said, all the way up,
Talanya just said, thank you for your honesty.
yeah, all the way up to
So
the point to where, where you even to, intimacy, you know,
let's go there.
things shrink up. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And things become very, very uncomfortable
Yeah.
for us. So, there are things you could do, but as a man, sometimes in that area, we become very selfish because we just want to get ours
Hmm.
by any
Hmm.
means necessary. And then,
Hmm.
they start talking about, well, you know, chemo has done this to me, it's done that to me. So, it's going to be some work in progress. We just can't jump in there like we used to.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm.
So, and I told my uncle that because he would always talk about how much him he just loved his wife and they would just love on one another. And I told him, I said, you have to understand that some things are going to be different, and you
Yes.
have to, and I'll tell every man out there that ever listens, if they go back and listen to this or whatever, every little flame that you think you may have had in the past will find you somehow or another. Because I kid you not, I got
Really?
I got messages on Facebook and stuff like that from you know females in high school that I hadn't seen in 30 years.
Oh, they're like, poor Troy.
How are you doing? And this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. Um, and I'll be like, oh, hey, uh, I'm doing well. How are you? Da 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 da. Oh, we're doing fine, doing fine. So and I was just being cordial and friendly and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Two in particular had gone to or gone by to see my parents because we used to be really close in high school. Gone by to see
Hmm.
my parents to see them, and they were, so how's Troy doing? This, that, and the other. Oh, he's doing good. His wife's going through chemo, and so they kind of share some information. Which
Hmm.
you would think that they would want to be, they had ulterior motives.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
if you ever need to talk, you can come by. I live here at such and such, and
Hmm.
anytime, often extend out their services. And like I said, keeping 100.
Yeah.
I made a drive.
Emo-
I made a drive once.
hmm.
Went and sat outside, and like the apartment area had a little like a little park bench, where
Hmm.
so we sat out there and just tell them I'm going through. So she wants to start, doing a touchy feely thing to console,
Hmm.
so, and that's we man, we start to get that and start to console and everything. Next thing you know, the touch starts to get up there, starting to get a little more intimate,
Hmm.
and I had to put the brakes on. I was like, okay. I say, well, I see where you're trying to go with this.
Hmm.
And I've got a lot of complicated stuff going on right now. This is the last thing that I
Right.
need to be involved in, or the last thing that I need to do.
Hmm.
And so I just, got up and left when everything in me was saying stay. You know,
Everything. That emotional tie
oh
that,
man, listen, it's it's, going back to the point of even the intimacy piece.
hmm. Hmm.
So there's things that you just can't do that you really enjoy doing and you miss, and then you get this this person that's ready to go and give you everything that you feel you've been missing, but
Hmm.
at what cost? So made the right decision, just left it alone, and on the way back, I just felt so dirty and guilty about.
How did you handle that with going home on the way home and knowing that, okay, do I add this to my wife? What she's already going through. What will this do for her? How did you handle that?
I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her. The until much, much later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because I didn't want her to feel like, well, I can't do this. He's going to leave me. And, now, I only have one real breast now. He's going to leave me. I just don't want that to cycle through her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Although she's a strong Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't want to put that on her until, so, um, when she was really getting back to herself,
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I said, I want to go see one of these, I call them chicken heads that I went to high school with. And she tried and stuff. And she was like, well, as long as you guys didn't, you didn't do anything. I was like, no. She said, well, no, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell she was mad, but, it wasn't anything. She didn't kick me out or leave me.
Didn't leave you for it.
Right. But I just want to say that, to the guys, you got to find out, if you're going to be in it, you've got to be in it because they will come for you in all different directions. People that you hadn't seen in a long time, because that's just, whether, whether people believe in, the spiritual things, the good and evil, the devil or God, I'm a believer, but I know that, whenever you try to do good, evil's always present. And these things they will show up on you. I'm telling you.
Say it again. Evil is always present.
Always present.
And
Yeah.
and again, not being able to be intimate with your wife. See, we don't talk about what chemo does to everything.
Right. Right.
Right. I was lucky enough to be in a support group where we talked about, ladies, chemo's gonna do this. Chemo's gonna do that. And I was able to tell other people, look, that vitamin E is a wonderful trick, Just get the capsule. It's a beautiful trick, right? Yeah. But not being able to express those things to your husband or to your mate because these things look different. I joke all the time. My husband used to say, well, I'm a leg man. You can't tell me if you look at this that you don't see something different. All right. However, it's how we treat each other. Because we all get older, stuff starts to drop, fall, shrink, whatever. But we're talking about something that happens in a blink of an eye.
Right.
Yep. I was this and now I'm that. That morning I had two and now I only have one. Or I don't have anything at all, or this is just a little cut out. Right. I used to say I look like Edward Scissorhands. Like he got his hands on me, right? Taking a shower in the dark because I didn't want to see myself. So I'm thinking, how does my husband want to see this? Because again, we came into this a different light, but we don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we are talking about it. Like Vanessa said, this is real talk.
Yeah.
All right. I'm even getting text messages right now telling me this is a good conversation. I'm so happy about the honesty that we are talking about this. And so going through that, having everybody want to emotionally help you, also want to help you in other ways. And how long from that time that happened did you express that to your wife? Was it years after, months after?
It was probably maybe a year.
Okay.
Maybe a year. Yeah. And I will I was just going to say that's one of the things I'll take to my grave.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need to know. But
what made you decide that you wanted to tell her?
I guess because I felt bad. I guess I just feel like, you have to let things out. I don't want to be a person that's I don't know. If it's something that's bothering me, I like to leave it out. I don't like to let it out. I don't like to leave it in because I used to be a person that would explode, hold stuff in, and then just explode on something or someone that's just, but letting it out, talking about like now, talking about it, getting it out there. It's just, I just think it's it's healthy, but I think the timing of the release is important too,
That is
because I
so true.
definitely wouldn't do it while she's already going through.
And
I,
that was actually thoughtful of you.
yeah, I guess I may have waited to where I felt like she was being more secure of where she is now, because she was do the thing, come out the shower, towels all wrapped around, and
Mhm.
turn it back towards me whenever something's going on. She did all that, but once she started realizing that I'm not going anywhere, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna
But
be right here.
that's- yeah,
Oh,
it's tough stuff, man. But I'm telling you, it's real, man. So guys, you we want to be rocks.
mhm.
We need to be a rock all the way around.
All the way around those cracks.
Yep.
Don't let anybody else feel those cracks,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
That let me say that. Now,
Yeah.
guys, who our audience who's listening, I know this was just supposed to be a pre-recorded podcast, but we decided to go live. If you guys have any questions, Troy, do you mind if anyone has any questions
Not at all.
that you would like to ask him? Any comments, or even if you want to join in, let me know. We're going live. It is what it is. We're here. We're already live. So if you have any questions for Troy or myself, just let us know. And again, I appreciate your honesty, because I am looking for a sex therapist now to be on the show to talk about these things that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
I didn't find out about what chemo does to your body in that way until I went to a support group, and they were telling me how I could help myself.
Uh-huh.
It's so important. So just those things and knowing those things are so important. Now, how's your wife doing now that you guys are past this point, but you still have appointments to go to, checkups to go to?
Oh,
Is it a constant reminder, or is it like, okay, it's in the rearview mirror?
you know what? The checkups for me, I mean, because they were all good,
Mm-hmm.
everything was going right. Everything was going right. For me, the checkups were just um, confirmation that you're beating this thing.
Oh,
That
okay.
you're beating it. Not that it came the cancer picked a battle with your wife and then realized, oh, I picked the wrong
I
one.
picked the wrong one.
Wrong one. So the checkups were they were it was nothing. They didn't bring any negativity towards me because they were, all the checkups were good. Now, had they said something that was, you know, bad, or that was less than, positive,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I would have felt a different way. But they were kind of, I was almost like, okay, let's go see what the doctor says now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, yeah, what are they going to say now? And
Yeah.
everything always, you're doing well. Your heart is strong. That was a big thing. I was worried about the heart because it had really taking a toll on her heart. But her they were like, yeah, your scars healing up well.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more signs. No, we can't find it. There's no more cancer anywhere. It's not in the lymph nodes and all that stuff. So it was all good.
Okay.
Okay,
And
I wasn't scared of the checkups.
wasn't scared to check us. And what's funny is when I go for those checkups, it's just like, okay, any test results, what's going on? And it's different. It's different for the husband, for the wife, for the person going through, for the person who's supporting them. It's different. But I'm glad that you've seen those checkups. As my wife has an S on her chest. She's a superwoman. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
And again, they picked the wrong one.
Yeah, she's a tough one, boy. I'm telling you, she is a monster. She's a monster. But
Well,
it's tough seeing your monster in the week in their weak state
mm,
too, because she's laying there when she lost all that weight and the frailty. Although she's trying to keep positive stuff, when she's laying
mhm.
there sleeping, I'm looking at it. You're seeing that frail body. So you're like, oh man. But she wake up and come out and start talking and start forgetting about it, because we knew that was just a temporary state for that body.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm gonna put this back over here because so I can read it real quick. It says, "Did your wife say anything to you after you left the first chemo session? I heard you say that you manned up for the second session. So I was just wondering if you leaving the first session was impactful for her, or was she okay because she had her friend there?" And that was from Vanessa Sanders.
Vanessa, she was her and Jeanette are pretty close, so she was okay for that first session with the friend being there. However, she did express concern about me going forward.
Okay.
She did ask me. She said, are you going to be there for me?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a challenge, and there's the pride part of me wanted to try to come back to something like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I had to go to the bakery and make sure this was going on. If we just can't let everything go, if you want to hold on to it, I was wanting to come back with some stuff like that. But when she asked me, would I be there for her? It was a yes or no question.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I told her yes. And then, so she was like, okay, okay. And, and
Did
I was,
Jeanette give you any words of wisdom? I know Jeanette didn't let that slide.
I bet you she'll call me tonight. And she'll say, yeah, I remember when you ran out of there. Yeah. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's tough. And, I beat myself up for a while, and,
Mm-hmm.
even leaving, even driving back to the bakery, I'm in this battle. You
Mm-hmm.
should go back. That's your wife. You need to go back. No, Jeanette's got it. I can go and, keep the bakery running. No, you need to. So I'm Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all the way back to the, to the bakery.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just one of those things. I mean, I can't go back and erase it. I would stay there for that first day, because that's an important, it's a very
Moment.
important day. And
Yeah.
I wasn't there. So I
Yeah.
just thank God that nothing major happened that day, because, I don't know how I would have, the guilt that I don't know, feel would be, tremendous.
Yeah.
But, hey, Jeanette, but we have,
Jeanette says she still love you, Troy. You're the greatest.
that's my girl, but yeah, she is something special, man. If, I am just, we're privileged to know people like such as yourself and Jeanette that
Mhm.
are out there making a difference. And I don't take that lightly. So thank
Oh,
you. Thank Jeanette.
oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me go on live on this. When I
Yeah.
said, look, we're just gonna do a pre-recorded podcast and I'll put it out in May, but now it's out. It'll still go out as a podcast in May, but it will now. I now can put it on my little page or whatever. Well, it's not little because we're growing. So make sure you share and subscribe. Okay. I did get a text. Um, just wanting to know, did that young lady or who the person that contacted you, did she ever contact you again?
I She did,
Hmm.
um, with a kind of apologetic, but I could see through it was apologetic. If you really want to talk, I understand. You need somebody to really talk to. So, yeah, she was apologetic. Contacted again. I responded that one last time, and then I just ignored it.
Okay. So you just ignored her.
Yeah,
Okay.
just ignored it. So,
Well,
no.
Michael says in the moment you understood what your position was. And I believe he's talking about like in that moment
Mhm.
at chemo, you understood what your position was. It's so
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah.
He was in the men group in February. He was one of
Okay.
the ones, and he was there for his wife Rose. And his podcast was very interesting too.
All
So
right, all right.
Jeanette has given me some really good guys to talk about their true experience with going through cancer with their wife. And it's good to see, and it's good to see how you reacted and where you are now, because you said you're now 8 years out.
Yeah, I
from
think it's, it may be even more than that. Gosh, it's just,
where Lisa at? Go get Lisa.
I don't know.
Go get
Lisa,
Lisa.
come here for a second.
Now Lisa does not know that I've asked for her to come on real quick. So guys, let's see.
Mhm.
Let's see. Let's get Lisa in here, and this is how we'll end the show with Miss Lisa.
Woman, I said, come here.
Did you fly past your head?
Come here for a second.
Hey, Miss Lisa.
This is Regina with the
Hi,
podcast.
Regina.
Hey, thank you so much. Can we see your lovely face?
Yeah, here I come.
Okay.
Here's all this loveliness. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Your husband has been very open and honest
Good.
about all that you guys went through. And it's always interesting to hear a husband's side of the story, what they thought. And he even talked about when he walked in on your first chemo treatment and he walked out.
Yep. I was like, where's he going? She was like, you got to get to work. I was like, but.
And you having that honest question, are you going to be here for me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you have to be open and honest about what's going on. We talked about just what chemo does to the woman's body, from a sexual standpoint. Yeah, I don't know if you was in the other room with your ear up to the wall or not, but he was so honest with it. Oh, I love it. All the loveliness. Yes. And even Vanessa is talking about, have you joined any men to coordinate and support, other men who are going through this, where you can talk about these things?
Yeah, I haven't, but I think we need to, because this is something that needs to, the support is important.
It is.
It is. And just being out there and being transparent, and, so people can understand what you're going through. I mean, it's always good to know what kind of battle you're going to face, instead of just going into it blindly.
Yeah. And Lisa, you're going to be next on my podcast, but I know the people who are on now definitely want to know, because we're actually live. Now, we were supposed to do a pre-recording. I'm not paying no attention to him. This was supposed to be pre-recorded, but he allowed me to go live. So now we have people asking questions. And one of the things that he was very honest about was the emotional tie that he could have gotten into with someone else while you were going through. And he later told you, hey, I felt bad about doing this. How did you take that years later when he just told you about the woman who approached him?
You weren't too happy, but
no, I wasn't happy at all.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's just like well, I mean, I just think about it like if it's the other way around, women always support the men. And then if it's the other way around, then they're ready to go book up and go somewhere else.
Yeah. It's a true statement, because I, going through treatment, those are the stories I talked about. I was newly diagnosed and newly married. And a lot of people always say, I'm just glad he stayed. And I was like, well, hell, what kind of man did I marry? Was he not supposed to? But then when I started to hear the stories of one lady who went to chemo and came back and her house was cleared out.
Wow.
And he was gone. Wow. So I get that, okay, maybe this is something different when you're supposed to be there between thick and thin and all that good stuff. But this is something real. Thank you. We're glad that we went live too. And don't worry, Miss Lisa will be on. Y'all keep playing with me. I might do all my podcasts live.
A wide angle for her forehead, though.
I think well. I'm just sitting forward. That's why my head looks bigger than his. You try
look at him. I always got jokes. He had jokes at chemo. But so now I see what you had to go through, but he kept that smile on your face.
Yeah.
which I love, and I'm so glad about your honesty. But I need to know how many years it's been, because he can't remember. He don't know if it's 7, 8.
8. I count when I got my mastectomy. I count that as being completely over. So that was in 2013.
Woo! Yes.
She's counting on her fingers.
I'm counting on my fingers. So yeah.
Look, I thought y'all froze for a second. I was like, wait a minute.
It'll be 8 years in December. I think like December 3rd.
Great. Wonderful. Congratulations. You know, we're going to have to do something big. I'm telling you, you got people texting me, asking me questions here about, but I can't give it all away because Lisa has to come on the next one, so we can be open and honest about that too. But I really do appreciate, as a woman, coming up here. And then I met you briefly on Jeanette's show, but being a warrior, congrats on your 8
Thank
years.
you. Thank you.
Yes, we'll have to do something big on the 10.
Yeah. And you know, it's so weird because like every year I see, you know, especially like Jeanette, she's good at posting it. He's actually good at posting it. And I'm like, this last December, I kept saying, oh, you know, make sure you post it and things like that. And I guess one of the things that he was saying is, why don't you ever tell anybody? Because like when I tell people I closed my bakery, I say I closed my bakery when I got sick. And I never say what happened. He's like, why don't you ever tell people what happened? And like Jeanette was saying, you know, that is a testimony, and let people know, because a lot of times people are bothered by their spouse having cancer and they never get to the next level. And that was one of the things that when Jeanette went with me to the hospital just for the preliminaries, man, she touched so many people.
Yes.
Because, you know, we were in the same room and everybody was doom and gloom, and me and Jeanette are in there laughing. And, you know, but, but then I started thinking, like, I would go different places and, you know, they would say, well, let's get up and talk about such and such.
Time out. This is my interview.
Oh,
look, his ended at at the hour mark. We passed the hour mark, but no, Lisa, you are definitely going to be on my next guest on my podcast. So just get ready for me to give you a call. I'm going to go ahead and let your husband in this interview. Is there anything you would like to tell anyone about going through this process, Troy, that you haven't already shared? And let me see, we have another comment up here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody's comments. I just hollered, not the time out. Oh yeah, Lisa, I told you she did warn me. Jeanette did warn me. Regina, just be ready. I said, oh, I'm ready. I need someone like him. I need someone like him to be on here. And you have not let me down, or just the fact that folks jumped on knowing that, you know, this is not my scheduled day to go live. So
it is Monday.
It is. Yeah, it's Monday. Well, guys, is there anything that you would like to tell our audience before we go?
Just to the guys out there, you know, if you find yourself in this position, you know, look for support, and talk to some people that's going to be real and let you know what to expect, and, you know, gear up, because you can get through it. It's easy to run. It's easy to run. But if you want the challenge, if you want to find out what you're made of, stay.
And tag, you're it, right?
Yes,
she wasn't the only one that was it. You're it.
Okay, I coined that phrase. You
did. That's the first thing he said out the gate was tag, you're it. Well, I'm definitely going to get you with the gentlemen that have come on to the podcast, get you connected, because they are starting something up. And the honesty is a beautiful thing. So you guys just wait right there. I'm going to close out the show. Lisa, I'm going to give you your whole podcast by yourself.
Okay.
But don't you go anywhere. You stay right there. All right, guys. I want to thank you so much for coming on and joining us for our first live pre-recorded podcast. Just remember that the glow doesn't define you. You define the glow. Because my glow is so bright right now, and I'm defining it in every way. So, guys, please remember the glow doesn't define me. I define the glow. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.